Nonsense. Nonsense.
Yes, people. Yes, people. Yes, people. It's episode 6 of the We Talk Football podcast. I'm back like I never left. It's episode 6. You haven't got to sit through another 25 minutes of Kwaku chatting all sorts of nonsense. But my God, what a weekend of football, eh? So this week, we talk the madness that is Jordan Pickford. We talk the VVD injury. We talk the amazing results. We talk the comebacks of all comebacks. And we talk the fraudulence that is Kwaku, Afari, and Fantasy League. Let's get into it. How you doing, Quakes?
Yeah, not too bad, brother. Not too bad. I've been reminded why I love football. Obviously, we've got a lot to get into, so let's crack on.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Everton, Jordan Pickford. They are two things that are not aligned right now. I feel like Everton are going one direction and Jordan Pickford's just, some emotional train wreck that's going everywhere. What was he thinking? And in what world is that not a red card? Seriously, that is like serious foul play. Anyone that knows me, I don't like Liverpool. But I'm currently nursing an ACL injury. I've got a torn meniscus and a torn ACL. And the fact is, VVD is now out for the entire season because Jordan Pickford doesn't know how to play football. That's mental.
There's so many things to touch on that. Obviously, he could get done for GBH. That was a mad tackle. Even at the time, without seeing the replays, it was just like, that doesn't look right. Obviously, seeing it slowed down multiple times from different angles, it just looks even worse. But that's just one of the facets of the game. The game itself was absolutely crazy, from like Mane's opener to like Everton replied, and no one really expecting that. When Liverpool went up early, you thought it was going to be game over. But Everton coming back, Michael Keane, then Liverpool going ahead for that Salah banger, and then my man, DCL coming back with the equaliser, channeling his inner Cristiano Ronaldo. Man, the whole game was crazy. But obviously, the biggest talking point was the Pickford massacre on BVD. And yeah, man, I think we're both in agreement. It was absolutely disgraceful. I'm not in agreement with people coming out and saying Pickford should be suspended for as long as BVD's out. That's just not the rules. But it was an atrocious challenge, and he did need to be red carded in that game. Didn't get anything for it, not even the booking.
Well, he was almost the pantomime character, wasn't he? Because it was such an up and down game from him. He obviously, that's a nice little mug he got there, quickly. But obviously he early in the game injures VVD. Then he makes so many good saves in the second half, like kept Everton in the game. And then in the last minute, it looked like he'd flopped another save from Jordan Henderson. And obviously, that was then ruled out.
Yeah.
But the one talking point I have, I think, like for a neutral, like a game was an absolute spectacle. It's the reason why football is a great sport on earth, in my opinion. But yeah, I think VAR is there to be implemented. I don't want to make this all about VAR, but VAR is there to be implemented by professionals so they can look in a room and identify problems. And I am confused as to how that challenge goes unnoticed. And in what world is that challenge legal? Because, all right, if the challenge is offside, if Jordan Pickford had elbowed VVD, I'm pretty sure he would have been sent off. If he would have gone up to him and punched him in the face or something and done something to actually cause bodily harm, I'm pretty sure he would have been sent off. So I'm confused how a scissor challenge, although he's going for the ball and obviously he's not, you follow my point. It's just like in the current laws of the game, how is that not even a yellow card or a red card? I mean, it's a definite red. Anywhere else on the pitch, that's a red card, even in Sunday League.
Mate, I think that we've got we're heated by this because we're both people that suffered ACL injuries. So as soon as it happened, we were texting, so that's an ACL. You could just see it straight away, the way his knee just popped and jolted. And the thing is, punching VVD in the face post that being offside is better because he's playing next week. He's just got a black eye. That challenge that's a 3-game ban minimum. Liverpool didn't get anything out of it. And you've addressed it. We're not Liverpool fans. We both have a disdain towards Liverpool, but I've left that game feeling like Liverpool were robbed, obviously because of that initial challenge on VVD, and also let's move on to the offside. Who's looking at that? Who's watching that and being like, that's offside? We need it clarified because, again, although the game was a spectacle and it was maybe enhanced because of these decisions, like Liverpool are justified to feel robbed in this situation. They were. Like that Henderson goal should have stood. That reverse pass from Thiago to Mane, and for that to get ruled offside, I don't know. If I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm fuming right now.
Yeah, I feel like, for me personally, I feel like because the offside rule has been somewhat implemented for the last years, for the last season at least, I'm kind of more. I can understand where that's coming from. I don't necessarily agree with the offside rule, but because, you know, if as part of the player is offside, regardless if it's giving him an advantage or not, by the current laws, it's offside. There's teams that benefit from it. There's teams that don't benefit from it. And like you say, it's crap and it's so marginal. But I can understand that. It's just the real problem with VAR that I have is, again, like how you can take 2 to 3 minutes to assess an offside but miss a scissor challenge on a player that's arguably the best defender in the world is going to seriously hamper Liverpool's title chances.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that's a general problem. Like, who are the people that are sitting in the office, like, and assessing these situations? Do they know the game? Like, I haven't played the game professionally. You know, like I've played a shitload of FIFA in my life. I played a shitload of Football Manager, and I was a glorified Sunday League player, right? I played 6-a-side, and now my knees fucked, and I'll probably never play football again. I'm no professional, right? And that's like, I come on the internet and I voice my opinion once a week, my very unqualified opinion on football. But even I, as an unqualified football fan, can see that that's inherently wrong. And I draw it back to, like, the Luke Shaw challenge on Lucas the other week in the Man United Tottenham game, where he's done the professional foul and taken him down. But that's actually aggravated it could be aggravated body harm. And then in that same game, you get Lamela gets sent off for a slight touch on the face of Martial. But then you get things like, how were it's just not coherent. You know, there's no, like, I don't understand the rules of our game. I do not understand the rules of our game. I just think football's broken in so many aspects right now. Football is broken.
Well, yeah, that game was like littered with just incidents that, I don't know, incidents that don't really make sense to fans that have been watching football for years and years and years, like we have. Obviously, the Richarlison tackle was horrendous, and he deserved to get a red card for that. But I don't know how somebody can look at that and say that's a red card, and then look at the Pickford one and not say it's
again, that Richarlison, going on what we've seen from the observable evidence that we have, if Jordan Pickford would have made that Richarlison tackle, you know, on VVD, it would have been like, oh, it's fine because it's offside. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. It's just very, very confusing. Very, very confusing for a football fan. And I don't like, again, it draws back to something we've touched on in the past. It's like the referee, you know, the power has been taken completely away from the referees. The referees have no power over a game, and it's given to these absolute donkeys who sit in a room and say, oh, it's offside. But about the potentially career-threatening challenges that are being given by the goalkeepers. I just think, fucking hell. And on top of that, why is Jordan Pickford still England number one? Like, what's he doing? What? Gareth, mate. Gareth, come on. Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
Jordan Pickford's very much... Jordan Pickford is just a public enemy number one. And don't get me wrong, I don't think he's gone out there to purposely injure Virgil van Dijk, but he's clearly all over the place, and he's always been like an emotional footballer. And like, when you're making challenges like that on like players who are very talented, like, it's just, come on, like, it's ridiculous. There's been no public apology from Jordan Pickford, and you can argue if you should or not, but I just think it's ridiculous, man. I do think it's ridiculous. And again, I don't like Liverpool. I enjoy Liverpool not doing well, but an ACL injury is very, very serious. Very, very serious. Players come back from ACL injuries and are often not the same player after. So who knows what kind of player Virgil van Dijk's going to be when he comes back. But Jordan Pickford's just hard.
Yeah, I know. I'm in like full agreement. Like, there's just like, again, I'm not with these people that say that he should be out for as long as VVD's out. But I think the bigger question should be, should the best referees be on the pitch, or should the best referees be in the VAR room, like, making the big decisions? Because, like you said, the power's been taken away from the referees on the pitch. So I feel like the best officials in this country should actually be the ones watching it on the screen and assessing if it's a foul or not, because ultimately the power lies with them. So I think that's another thing that people need to look at. For example,
What about all the referees that have like retired? You know, that have been referees, professional referees for 20 to 30 years. Is there no opportunities that can be given to them? Say, hi, you know the game. You've reffed the game for 30 years. Do you want to come sit in an office once a week and say, oh, have a look at this? And all these like ex-players that are now out of work, like, you know, that aren't pundits or aren't coaches, like, can they not be utilised? Why can we not have like a board that consists of, you know, like ex-players who have played the game? You got officials that are current, you got old, like ex-officials that can be there on like a consultancy basis, and they can all pull their intellect together and get a more, you know, streamlined, linear decision. Because at the moment, it's all over the place. It's all over the place.
No, I fully agree. And the only thing I'd say with ex-pros is obviously it'll be difficult because they have affinities to certain clubs, even though they might not declare it. They might have affinities to different clubs. But I'm in agreement with yourself in terms of there should be a panel of people kind of coming together to make these decisions, because at the moment the jurisdiction lies with referees who we have a lack of faith in, referees who, when they're refereeing on the pitch, we don't have faith in them, let alone when they're sitting in the booth kind of faceless and we can't hold them accountable. So yeah, something does need to change. But to kind of round up that game, obviously it was a madness. We were texting throughout it. It was absolutely crazy and illustrates why we love football. If we move on to the game that was after that, the Chelsea versus Southampton game, kind of illustrates why sometimes football's the most frustrating sport in the world. Sitting there 2-0 up, Timo Werner with 2 lovely goals, comfortable, happy as Larry. I'm gassed. I'm giving it to the boys in the group chat, like Chelsea are back, Chelsea are back, Chelsea are back. We give away a goal just before half time due to Kai Havertz, and I can just see the wheels coming off from there. They score a goal after half time, 2-2. We then go and score a goal to put us 3-2 up. I'm like, okay, boys, let's settle down. We've got this. Kai Havertz, lovely finish. And then obviously last minute, they equalised. So it was an absolute roller coaster of a game. Again, just outlining how crazy football's been this season. But for me, it kind of put a dampener on the weekend that in totality was brilliant in terms of watching football. But from a Chelsea fan's point of view, it's just more of the same, I guess. What was your thoughts on the Chelsea capitulation?
Well, steady on. I mean, lovely finish from Kai Havertz. It was a tap in from 6 yards. Do you know what I mean? He couldn't miss, right? But again, I think it's just it's another example of capitulation from Chelsea. I think they've, you know, obviously they came back from 3-0 down against West Brom, and now they've, you know, supplemented that result with this result on the weekend. It doesn't suggest the best mentality going forward for Chelsea Football Club, because bearing in mind, me and you in our top 6 predictions, we predicted them going very, very, very high in the table. I think I said they'd finish in second. I think you tipped them to win. Mm-hmm. These are the results that you need to win. You can't afford to be dropping these points. And again, I don't think it's one of those seasons where a team's going to get 100 points or whatever. But I think, you know, Chelsea have dropped a lot of points already, and we're only 6 games in.
Yeah.
Well, going into 6 games, sorry. So yeah, again, I think, you know, how much? The one thing I would say is, how many results can Frank Lampard get that are like this? You know, because these results are embarrassing for Chelsea Football Club, whether you like it or not. You know, like in the Premier League, you know, anyone that's a football fan knows that you can go to any ground and get turned over. You know, Norwich went to City last year and won, you know, like, and they got absolutely battered all season. Anyone can win in the Premier League. But when you're Chelsea Football Club and you're having these results, you know, it's embarrassing for Chelsea Football Club, especially after all the money you've had. And if it wasn't Frank Lampard in charge, there would be a lot more pressure on the manager right now. And I just question, as a neutral, how long can Frank Lampard pull out results like this, you know?
I feel like the only solace that we can take from it, or I can take from it as a Chelsea fan, is the fact that if you look at every other top 6 side, they've had a bookie result in there, whether it be United getting slapped by Spurs. Obviously, we're going to come on to Spurs versus West Ham and that comeback. Man City getting slapped by Leicester. Liverpool getting slapped by Aston Villa. the Premier League's been very, very strange, and we haven't actually got slapped yet. Like, we've had a couple of dodgy draws, but we sit on the same amount of points as Spurs, who people claim to have had a great start to the season, and we're only 2 points behind Liverpool, who are prohibitive favourites to win the title. So I feel like Lampard, in terms of his job, is going to be very safe because, like we outlined at the beginning of the season, to win the league this year is not going to take 99, 100 points. I think it's going to come back to the mean around about 85, anywhere between 85 to 87 points to win the league. So I feel like we're in good position. We just need to kind of like, I don't even know how to explain it. The defence, I think, is a personal issue rather than a tactical issue. Obviously, we're missing Thiago, which isn't an excuse, and we're missing Mendy, which, again, isn't an excuse. But, yeah, there are problems there. It is concerning. And if this continues, then obviously Lampard's got some questions to answer. But as it stands, I'm pretty confident and pretty comfortable where we're sitting in the league at the moment.
Well, that's it. But, like, when does he get to a point when he does have questions to answer? Because the defending has been absolutely woeful from Chelsea all season. You can say you're on the same points as Spurs. Fine. Yeah, you are. But at the same time, you've still got a couple of shocking results in there. And, you know, I don't think Chelsea are in an amazing place at the moment. I don't look at Chelsea from an outside. From my initial expectations of them this season, they're not fulfilling that. And they're not fulfilling yours 100%. You know?
Yeah.
From
the beginning of the season, who is fulfilling what you expected from them at the beginning of the season, apart from Everton? None of them. No team is. That's why Lampard's in a lucky position, because last season we finished top four, but in the top four race that was very, very dodgy. Again, got lucky, but you can only play to your competition. And right now the competition are playing woeful, so there's not going to be a chance of Lampard losing his job because then you're asking questions about every other manager in the league. What is Mourinho going to lose his job because we're on the same amount of points as Spurs? Is Pep going to lose his job because they're on less points than us? Like, I don't think any of the top managers are going to get sacked that early this season just because everybody's kind of finding their feet.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Again, and like, I'm not one of those West Ham fans that's, you know, leading the mob to try and get Frank Lampard sacked. I actually quite like Frank Lampard. I don't necessarily hate Frank Lampard for leaving West Ham and going on and having the career he did. A lot of West Ham fans do. They're typically of the old demographic, you know, calling Fat Frank and all that. But for me, I like Frank Lampard. I want to see Frank Lampard do well. He's a young English manager. I just think, like, you know, if he wasn't Frank Lampard at Chelsea right now, history would suggest that he'd be under a lot more pressure than what he is. And the only question I'm asking is how many results can he have like this? Yeah. You know, but you're right. There are most Premier League sides at the moment are throwing up these sort of clanger results. And
I'm inclined to agree with you, to be fair. In terms of if he wasn't Frank Lampard, I'd be asking questions. You know what I mean? I'd be like, wow, what's happening? And I'm giving him a lot of leeway because he is Frank Lampard, arguably the greatest player in our history. But yeah, there should be questions asked because our defense has been awful for a year and a half now. Should we talk about your boys?
Let me just say,
bro, wait, before we start. I'm just gonna let you talk, innit? I'm just gonna let you talk. I'm just gonna let you have this moment because 20 minutes into the game, you sent me a video. I've never seen you look that depressed ever. So I'm gonna let you talk because this is your time to shine, innit? So go on.
Honestly, I just want to start this with football is the greatest soap opera on earth. It's the greatest spectacle. No sport comes close. It is amazing. In that game, right? So I'm how long we're 3-0 down, right? Spurs are looking electric. And to be honest, we're shit. We looked really, really bad. Now, my fears were somewhat realised. So I was worried that when we were on our really, really good run and we went into the international break, and I thought when we come out of this international break, you know, we're going to be, it's going to like halt our momentum. And my only hope was that it would do the same to Spurs. Obviously, at the end of the first half, I thought, fucking hell, this game could be gone, right? Anyway, David Moyes gets the boys in half-time, gives them a bit of the hairdryer treatment that he probably learned at Man United. Sir Alex Ferguson's probably been on the blower. The team that came out second half, right? Let's be honest, all they could do was improve, right? All they could do was improve, and all Spurs could do was get worse. And I think that's what happened, to be completely honest with you. I did say, obviously, I was talking to Quaku halfway through the game, and I was saying, like, oh, Spurs are going to do a Chelsea, because I was winding him up, you know, just prodding, because I had no other ammunition, right? Not actually expecting that, you know, Tottenham would then concede 3 goals. But what proceeded to happen in that half is I don't even want to say that half, right? I want to say the last 10 minutes of the game, because other than Fornals heading the ball over the bar from like within the 6-yard line, nothing really happened in the second half. It was Gareth Bale missed his chance. Oh, I'm sorry. Right, yeah, but Gareth Bale missed his chance, and then
revel in this, mate. Revel in this.
That's when the sauce started to happen. So yeah, that last 10 minutes of that game, probably top 3 moments of my life. Top 3 moments of my life, because I fucking hate Tottenham. And if you're a Tottenham fan, just go to our Instagram and watch our latest video. I took a lot of pleasure in putting that together, and I think Jose's done. But what is it? 92nd minute, whatever. Ball sits to Lanzini, edge of the box. Hasn't done anything in 2 seasons. Hasn't been the same player since he got injured on international duty with our Argentina. Ball sits him on the half swivel. Ball's coming across him. Strikes across the ball. Where's it going? The top stanchion. Upper echelon of football, mate. Upper echelon of football. That is why I love football. The reactions. I'm going crazy around the house. Generally, my heart was racing for a good solid 30 minutes after. I was screaming. I was loud. But anyway, like, great result. And for a West Ham fan, genuinely, look at our form now. We're looking really, really good this season, if I'm honest. We're looking really good. And Spurs are no pushover. They did push over in that game, because they're weak mentally. They're a weak side. They're weak. They're soft.
Mate, this is all documented. You got to be careful, man. I've said a couple things already that I've regretted. DCL, I apologise, but bro, you've got to play him again, so you got to be careful.
That's fine. They could smash us. That's fine, but you can't be a strong side mentally, right? And be 3-0 up, and then end that game at 3-0. You're not a strong side mentally, regardless of who you are. Yeah. Regardless of who you are, right? That's a mental weakness in the Spurs side. And like Declan Rice said at the end of the game, he came out and said the lack of fans in stadiums at the moment is the reason he thinks that some of these results are being thrown out there, because, if you're 3-0 up and you've got the Spurs faithful behind you saying, keep going, then I can't see that game turning around. But again, ain't nobody like Lanzini.
Is that an actual
happy?
chant?
Plays the West Ham way. Yes, of course it is. Of course it is.
Lanzini, mate. I was going to say
the Romford Maradona.
You've got another talismanic player heading your way. Obviously, the Ben Rama deal got done. What's your thoughts on that?
Again, great signing for us. Could go either way. It could either be Payet version 2, or it could be Felipe Anderson version 2. Yeah. History suggests that when we pick players up from the Championship, they can be okay. Jarrod Bowen, obviously, we got him from Hull last year. He's playing really well for us at the moment. Ben Rama's been doing really well for Brentford. Loves the skill move, loves a nutmeg. Yeah. He's the kind of player that West Ham fans will, gravitate towards. So I think it's a good signing, and 30 million, nice and cheap. Not in today's market, especially. I think it's a good signing. The one thing I would say is that, David Sullivan came out on TalkSport a month or so ago and said we've got 8 wingers. That's why we got rid of Grady Diangana. So I don't really know why we're going out and signing Ben Rama. But one of them ones. I think it's a good signing all round. He reminds me, from what I've seen of him, I've seen very little, to be completely honest with you. He reminds me of, and I'm not saying he's as good as, but from like a style of play, he reminds me of Eden Hazard. He reminds me of Eden Hazard. He has like a low centre of gravity, bit of like a stocky, like bulky physique, and like uses his body well for such a small stature. And I think obviously a little bit more loves a trick more than Eden Hazard, and obviously he hasn't got the technical ability, but it just reminds me of that kind of player. And he could fit the Payet mould that we do need. And I think it's great having those creative players around us. It does give us some options, especially with losing players like Felipe Anderson and stuff like that. So, positive signing. Also signed Craig Dawson as well at centre back. Which could go either way. He's been relegated a couple of times in the last few couple of seasons, and I'm not too sure on that signing. Time will tell. Hopefully, he'll provide some good cover in that in that new formation we're playing with the 3 at the back and the 2 wing backs. So yeah, it's a cracking result for West Ham. Ended up getting a couple of good signings near the end of the Championship window, also the EFL closing. So yeah, we're doing a lot better than what I anticipated. And if you would have said to me, you know, like, well, our first 6 games, our first run of 6 games were incredibly hard run of fixtures. You know, we played some top sides in there, and we've come away with points. Because if I'm honest, I couldn't see us getting any points in those first 6 games, and we've done really well. I think David Moyes has done a cracking job, especially in the circumstances he's in. So yeah, great time to be a West Ham fan.
Yeah, no, the game, obviously that was the game of the weekend. It was absolutely insane. It's crazy to think there was like 66 minutes, I think, of the game where there was no goal scored. So obviously Spurs scored their first like 3 goals in the first 14, and you scored your goals in like the last 8 or 10 minutes. It was an absolute madness. Obviously Harry Kane, I think we should touch on him a little bit. Probably the best player in the Premier League at the moment. Like in the first half, he got an absolute clinic. 2 goals and an assist. The connection that he's got with Son is incredible, and you get like a fully fit Gareth Bale in that front 3, and Spurs will be looking dangerous. I do think this result was an anomaly. I feel like it was just one of those happenings that occurs in the Premier League on occasion. And West Ham just had the fire lit underneath them and managed to pull out a result. But I do think Spurs will be lethal going forward this season. And I don't think this result will be indicative of how they'll perform going forward. And yeah, it was absolutely mad. We obviously were talking before about the international break maybe coming at the worst time for West Ham, because you had that amazing result against Leicester before the international break. But you seem to have got things clicking, and I would be remiss if I don't ask you: are you still predicting your boys to go down this season, or you want to change that prediction?
I mean, yeah, it's still early doors, but our form would suggest, like the teams we played, like history would suggest as a West Ham fan that we always perform against the big teams and struggle against the lesser sides. So I don't necessarily think we're going to get relegated, purely because I think there's 3 worse sides than us in the league.
Yeah.
But I would also like to see us against the lesser sides. You know, like what happens when we do go play Fulham or West Brom, because they're the games that, as a West Ham fan, I can actually suspect we might lose.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously I did predict us to go down, but I just can't see that happening at the moment. And just to touch on Harry Kane, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think Jose Mourinho is getting enough, or Jose, however you want to say his name. I don't think he's getting enough praise for putting Harry Kane in this role. I think dropping Harry Kane into that false 9 type role is really unlocking his potential. You look at the stats he's putting out this season, obviously from assists and goal scoring.
Yeah.
Scary. But it's also great from an England perspective. But then is Gareth Southgate going to then use him in the same way? No, he'll probably pull a Roy out and put him on corners or something. So.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I think Harry Kane's always had that within him in terms of that natural inclination to drop deep. He did it when he went on loan in Leicester when he was a youngster, and he was doing it for England to our frustration during the 2018 World Cup. Obviously, there was a lot of questions being asked, like, why is Harry Kane dropping so deep, especially in the Croatia game? And he's just got that natural instinct to do that, just because he sees the passes, because he knows how strikers want them, because he knows how he wants balls delivered to him. So the balls he plays for Son. So it was all very, very natural for Harry Kane. It's all very natural. And at the moment, pound for pound, he's looking like the best player in the Premier League. Just let's see if he can add trophies to that, because if he does, and I think he'll be running Lewandowski very, very close for the best striker in the world. But yeah, that was obviously our teams and how our team performed. There was other big games over the weekend, including City versus Arsenal. Did you manage to catch that?
I watched the highlights of that game. Yeah, I didn't manage to watch the game, but it looked pretty boring, to be honest.
You didn't miss much, man.
It looked pretty boring.
Yeah, he did not miss much. It was a kind of stat. Obviously, Man City managed to get the win. Raheem Sterling with another goal, but yeah, it was a tactical battle. I don't think Arsenal kind of went for it enough. They are showing signs of strength that they didn't show in previous seasons in terms of that steely determination not to get turned over. But I feel like this was an opportunity to kind of go at City, especially with De Bruyne missing, that Arsenal didn't capitalise on. But yeah, you didn't miss much, man. It was a pretty boring game. Obviously, Ollie managing to pull out a result to save his arse yes again. Seems like when his back's against the wall, man, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer just gets these results. I would not be surprised if they get a result against PSG this week in the Champions League. But Yeah, Harry Maguire getting the goal.
But I'll be honest. Long may it continue. As a neutral fan, I don't hate Man United. I don't like Man United. I grew up in a period where they were dominant for so many years. But long may it continue, where they have these shit periods and everything goes wrong in the club, but then they might get a couple of results and it just saves us back. Long may it continue. I enjoy that. So they're not going to progress under Ollie. Let them stagnate and get the odd win. That's fine. I'm happy with that. Yeah. It's a 4-1 win against Newcastle, by the way. 10 years ago, that's a standard. Now it's celebrated. But yeah. Steve Bruce never won against. Steve Bruce has never won against Man United in management. So
has he not? I swear he did last season, no.
No, I don't think so.
Really? We'll verify that. We'll verify that. But obviously, that United versus Newcastle game was one of the ones that was on. I think it was either BT Sport or Sky pay-per-view. And let's just briefly touch on that. They had the audacity to put Burnley West Brom on pay-per-view. Did you watch that? Did you watch that game?
That's prime pay-per-view viewing.
What? At thrilling 0-0, mate. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe that they're charging people 15 quid to watch these games, man. I cannot believe it. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm raging that they've got the audacity within the midst of this project, big picture stuff, to be charging fans 15 quid to watch their team if they're not in one of those allocated TV slots. I cannot believe it, bro.
I think it unfortunately shines a light on to what football is nowadays, and it's essentially a money-making business, isn't it? It's not a sport as such anymore. Sport is there as a secondary, and it's there to make money primarily. Yeah. I think the real thing that I dislike is the disparity between teams. If you're a big club, you're on television more. Whereas if you are a Burnley fan, if you are a West Brom fan, then you are required to pay more fees throughout the season. I don't think that's necessarily fair because it creates a disparity between these clubs. It creates a disparity between fans. And in what world is that fair? But football isn't fair. Ultimately, though, football isn't fair. The world isn't fair. The business world isn't fair. It's there to make money. And I'm not surprised, unfortunately, especially with that, like you say, with these big picture stories coming out. Thankfully, they were declined and turned down in the end. But yeah, I'm not surprised, unfortunately, mate.
I think I'm just bothered by it because I took a step back and just looked at it, and we're spoon-fed this shit every single year. The narrative is this is the best league in the world, best league in the world, best league in the world. In what universe is it acceptable for it to be the best league in the world, but this is the only country in the world where you haven't got the ability to watch all the teams play every week under one subscription? Like, you either have to get a BT Sports subscription, you have to get a Sky subscription, you either have to pay this box office. It's like, when I was living in Ghana for 3 or 4 months, all the games were on TV every single weekend under one subscription. And we're told it's the best league in the world, but we have to suffer the consequence of like how segmented the TV broadcasting rights is in this country. Mate, I'm fuming about it. I'm fuming. It's a joke.
Well, it's like Charlie. It's like Charlie. So obviously we've spoken about him before. He lives in New York. He's one of our very close friends. And I was talking to him about, seeing how many games he catches, obviously because they're in a different time zone. And the games are on all the time over there, often in the morning. They're all broadcasted, especially the big games. And it's just, when you get all these people in different countries experiencing these games, but then we have to suffer the consequences. I think, it seems like there's almost like a bias towards international fans.
It's a joke, and I get the globalization of football in terms of you want to make it accessible to everyone, but how about you make it accessible to people who actually live in this country first of all, eh? Like, how about you mate, I could go on forever about this. It's an absolute joke.
Bro, and like, we haven't even mentioned, like, we're near, I would say we're in a pandemic. You wouldn't be surprised if a financial recession followed this. £15 is a lot of money for the average household. Like, especially when you're sorry. Like, £15 is like, could be, for some families, it could be the choice between, getting food for the next few days. And they don't even have the luxury of obviously, if they're paying a Sky subscription and all sorts of things like that. But again,
Like
we could talk
15
about
quid is 15 quid.
Yeah, I know it is. The point is, we could talk about this all day, and inherently it's not fair. But football's not fair, unfortunately. Football's not fair, and I don't agree with it. You know, I think it's going to cut out a certain demographic of fans, and all it's going to do, like you've touched on touched on before, it's just going to drive people towards streaming sites, illegal streaming sites. It's going to take even more money away from the clubs.
Yeah,
it's going to put less more. You know, yes. Let's just wrap this up, mate.
Yeah, no, we could go on for ages, but it's an absolute nonsense. Big up all the streaming sites putting on the games out there for free. They're doing more for the general public than the government. So fuck Sky and fuck PT. We're leaving that in as well. All right, should we move on to the upcoming fixtures?
Yeah, do it, mate. Let's do it.
On Friday, we've got Aston Villa versus Leeds. What's your thoughts on that one? Aston Villa at home, obviously.
Mate, Jack Grealish looks like he's on smoke. I know we spoke about Harry Kane being the best player in the league, but Jack Grealish, in my opinion, doesn't look far behind him. Obviously, Ross Barkley propped up at the weekend, scoring another goal. Aston Villa looked very good, but then Leeds also looked very solid. I think Aston Villa and AC Milan are the only two teams in Europe that are 100% still.
Big up Zlatan. Big up Zlatan.
Yeah. So Aston Villa look good. How long is this one going to go on for? Yeah. Who knows? But I think Aston Villa look really strong, and I would actually tip them for a narrow win over Leeds. I'd say 1-0 personally.
See, it's a tough one. Obviously, Leeds dropped points against Wolves on Monday Night Football. I'm inclined to go for a draw here. I'm thinking it's going to be 1-1. Like I say, Aston Villa have been looking incredible. Jack Grealish looks amazing. Ross Barkley looks like he's found the home. But Leeds do look very good. Their style of football, their brand of football. I think the teams that haven't come up against it or come up against Bielsa ball are going to be taken by surprise. And I think the Leeds are going to pick up a point in this one. So I think it's going to be 1-0 Villa Leeds. So obviously on Saturday we've got your boys, tough fixture against City at the London Stadium. What's your thoughts on this one? How do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, another big game for West Ham. As I said, our first 6 games in the league have not been an easy run of fixtures, and I think City is the last of that. As I said previously, I do think West Ham perform better against the bigger sides and struggle against the lesser sides. Obviously, we lost to Newcastle and looked awful, but every other game we played this season, we've looked solid. You know, we really tested Arsenal, and they ended up beating us. We're lucky to win. We did well against Tottenham. I can see us doing well against City. I can. Obviously, I think a win would be very, very tough. I think City have looked good, but it depends what City side turn up. Obviously, they did okay against Arsenal and come away with a win, but then they played Leeds and struggled. I actually am going to back West Ham. I think a win would be a little bit too much for us, but I reckon a 1-1 draw with hopefully a Ben Rama debut in there. I think that's a 1-1 score draw is realistic for us, I think.
I love the fact you're back in West Ham. I love that energy. Yeah, it's going to be a difficult game. City haven't looked that impressive this season, but obviously City can turn up on any day and hand out a slapping. I would love to pick a West Ham win in this game, but I can't. I think I'm going to go 3-1 City win. I think Sterling will bag a couple. Depends on if De Bruyne is back or not, but I'll go for a 3-1 City win, but praying that West Ham pick up a result in that game. Then probably the least glamorous tie of the weekend. We've got Fulham versus Palace, a London derby. I'll go first on this one. I think Palace are going to pick up a win. I think Fulham, their biggest chance of picking up a win was on the weekend. Mitrovic doing his best to kind of sabotage Fulham's chances against Sheffield United, giving away a penalty, missing a penalty himself. So yeah, I'm going for a Palace win in this one. It's at Craven Cottage, but I'm going for a Palace 2-0 win against Fulham for Saturday. What you got for that?
I reckon Fulham need a win at some point this season, and I like Scott Parker, so I'm backing him. Roy Hodgson's back at his old stomping ground, the team he took to the Europa League final. I think Mitrovic is going to put his finger out, and I think it's going to be a 1-0 win. 1-0 win.
All right, so 1-0 Fulham win.
Ademola Lookman, by the way, scored a goal.
Yeah.
Ademola Lookman scored a nice goal. Yeah, I'd go 1-0 for Fulham. Hey, I'm
Yeah,
back. I'm back in Fulham.
come on, mate. I love it. Okay, then probably the fixture of the weekend. My boys, we've travelled to Old Trafford to face United. It's a 5:30 kickoff on Saturday. Oh, mate, this is a tough one. Both managers need a result. I think, depending on how the Champions League fixtures go this week, the pressure is going to be on both gaffers to get a result in this game. Ollie's had Chelsea's number in terms of league games, and I just can't see us winning. I'm going to go 2-2 draw. We're going to concede because our defence is a shambles. I would love to pick Chelsea in this game, but I just can't see us going to Old Trafford and picking up a victory unless something mad happens, like Martial or a striker getting sent off United or something crazy. So I'm going 2-2 draw. But again, praying that the boys can pick up a win. What's your thoughts on it?
3-0 United.
You're a dickhead, mate. Is that going to be a prediction? Yeah.
What happened last season? What happened last season? Has your defence improved?
No. No.
No, 3-0 United, mate. I think Chelsea are struggling against the lesser sides, mate. What are they going to do when they come against Rashford in fine form?
Yeah.
Fernandes in fine form.
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
You're going to do that to your boy. You're going to beat United 3-0, yeah?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Calm. I'll remember that. All right. So you gone United 3-0. I've gone 2-2. Then we've got Liverpool versus Sheffield United, Saturday at 8 o'clock at Anfield. Who you picking in that one?
2-0 Liverpool.
Yeah, I was going to say 2-0 Liverpool. I might go 2-1, I think without Van Dijk, I think they're susceptible to conceding goals, but I do think they're going to concede a goal, but they're going to bounce back, and I think 2-1 Liverpool in that game.
No Van Dijk or no Alisson.
Yeah, mate, difficult. And then their centre-backs they've got in Gomez and Matip are injury-prone. I think you're going to have to slip Fabinho back in there. I don't think you could trust Gomez and Matip together. But okay, so we've both gone for Liverpool winning that game. Southampton, Everton. What are you saying for that? It's at St Mary's.
2-2 draw.
Ooh, what do you think? Everton going to drop points again? Yeah.
I think Southampton are a solid side, mate. They looked good against you guys. They look good. You can't give Danny Ings a chance. Danny Ings looks electric.
Yeah.
Phil Walcott looked good from him, cutting in from the right hand side. And Everton looked great against Liverpool. But yeah, I think Calvert-Lewin and Danny Ings, two very informed strikers, and I think they'll both score. So yeah.
Who's out of Ings and Calvert-Lewin, who's like ahead in the pecking order if you're going to pick like a team to go to Euros next year? Say one of them was to miss out. Who you picking? The Calvert-Lewin, are you picking Danny Ings?
I think they're both going to be in the squad regardless, if I'm honest. But if I'm picking one, I think without being a prisoner of the moment, it would have to be Calvert-Lewin because he's younger and he has more time to improve as a player. Although Danny Ings has really put his miles in at multiple clubs, suffered a big injury at Liverpool, and is now doing really, really well at Southampton. I think people forget how well he did at Burnley as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be Calvert-Lewin for me, just because I think the form he's showing and the attributes to his game look almost Ronaldo-esque at times. That leap, for example, I think that's a valuable asset. But again, they'd both be in my squad above people like Tammy Abraham. So
we're not going to open that can. We're not going to open that can of worms, but we'll see if Mikel Antonio gets a shout for an England squad coming up. Anyway, my prediction for Southampton Everton. I think Everton win this game. I think Everton win this game 3-1. They bounce back. I say bounce back. Their result against Liverpool was good, but obviously it's the first time they dropped points this season. But I'm thinking 3-1 Everton against Southampton. We'll just run through the next 4 fixtures pretty quickly. We've got Wolves versus Newcastle. It's at Molineux. Who you got in this game?
1-0 Wolves.
I'm going 1-1 that game. Don't know why. Don't ask me. Just got a feeling. Then we've got Arsenal Leicester on Sunday. Another big fixture. It's at the Emirates. 7:15 kickoff on Sunday. Who you got in that one?
2-1 Arsenal.
I'm going 2-0 Leicester. Aubameyang hasn't scored since he signed his contract this season. Madness.
No. Okay. Yeah.
Got his money. Okay, then we've got Brighton versus West Brom on Monday, 5:30. It's at the Amex. Who you got in that one?
I think this is the first time Brighton are playing a side that they can batter. So I'm going to back Brighton for a 2-0 win and a solid performance from Tarek Lamptey.
I'm going 4-1 Brighton for some reason. I agree with you. I think West Brom are going to get a slapping. I think West Brom, as badly as Fulham have started this season, I think West Brom are going to be the first team to get cut adrift at the bottom of the table. I just don't trust them. And then the final fixture of this match week, match day 6, is Burnley versus Tottenham. Burnley at home. Who have you got in this one?
Burnley are a solid side when they need to be. And I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Tottenham, begrudgingly. Yeah. Although I could see Burnley getting something out of the game. I wouldn't be surprised. I think 2-1 Tottenham.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think it's going to be a 3-0 Tottenham. I think you could see Gareth Bale bag his first Premier League goals for Spurs in that game. 3-0 Tottenham for me. So yeah, that's the roundup for the upcoming fixtures. Should we move on to fantasy and the debacle that is my team?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Right, people. So shall we talk the fraudulence that is Kwaku that I alluded to earlier? So last week, you had to sit through 25 minutes of Kwaku chatting. I listened to it. It was the slowest 25 minutes of my life, and I apologise, and I'll never make you go through that again. But there was a part of the show that he put out, the episode 5.5, where he went through his fantasy team and played his wild card. However, Kwaku did not save this squad. Due to his technophobe tendencies, he did an entire episode dedicated to changing his team, to which he then did not save. Then, because he didn't save his team, he ended up doing well in the weekend, and now he's giving it the big un, as if he's some fantasy league aficionado. Fraud.
Let me break this down for you. So obviously I put on that fantastic display. I shared my screen with you. You can see me going through my team and the reasons why I picked these players. And like Jenny said, due to my technophobe tendencies, for some reason it didn't save. So I was fuming. Come like 11:35 on Saturday, I'm like, let me just check my team. Nothing is saved. I still had a Marty in my team. I still had Bear Man who just weren't performing this season. But somehow this managed to be my best fantasy week yet. Cody picking me up 6 points. Salah obviously banging. Robertson got an assist. Werner, who the majority of fantasy managers took out their team, he was still my captain. And obviously my man turned up with 2 goals and an assist. And obviously gunman Harry Kane. If he's not on your fantasy team right now, I don't know what you're doing. So yeah, I managed to end up on 78 points. The average was 60, so I had a decent week. How do you do?
Yeah, I did okay, to be honest, mate. I think me and you are tied on points now, aren't we? Very, very similar. I obviously got points for Son. He was my captain. So I got a goal for him, got a goal for Calvert-Lewin, got a goal for Ings. Salah scored, got a goal for him. Rodriguez played really well against Liverpool. Still got points for him. Foden got some points. Digne got some points. Alexander-Arnold, Reece James, Calvin Phillips, and my keeper Ryan from Brighton kind of let me down. But other than that, I probably had one of my best weeks on fantasy. Yeah. But my league position would not reflect that.
So let's quickly pull up the fantasy league now. Do you know what, Jay? I'm gonna share my screen. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, see. Look at this, Donny.
Look at me. Bear with me 2 seconds. Just talk amongst yourselves while I load up fantasy. So, what? Have you got any changes that you want to make this week in terms of players not performing and whatnot?
I'm actually thinking of bringing in Harry Kane, but I'm actually going to wait until a little bit later in the week to make the changes. I want to wait until after the Champions League games and things like that.
Harry Kane's got to be the team, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I put Son in, and Son did really well. So yeah, Harry Kane's looking good, but the week that I take out Werner does well. So that's like,
sod's law.
Fantasy league's just a bitch sometimes, isn't it?
It's Sod's law, man. Like I was so lucky that I left Vern in my team, but yeah, Sod's law that when you put him in, he's not gonna he's gonna perform. All right, so let's have a look at the We Talk Football Fantasy League. Again, Harriet leading the way, our editor. She's killing it again. It's another solid
joke.
It's a joke, isn't it? Solid 70 points. Like this was a bad week for her, and she's killing it. But we scroll down, we see the regular names. Obviously, T-Ball's up there, Daniel Sullivan's up there, Louis Smith's up there. We scroll, we keep scrolling, and the hosts of We Talk Football are in a relegation scrap. So you see me there, 18th position. I've had a decent week, pushed up the league. But we see Jamie's not had a good week. He's in 22nd position and struggling. So again, we reiterate this is probably the worst year to start a footballing podcast when it comes to fantasy, because we're exposing our gaps in knowledge. But we've still got another 32 match weeks to go. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful.
There's time. I think my time to win is somewhat gone now. But
how far are you off?
I think I'm about 100 points, 110 points. I think that. So I need. It's a bit difficult. I'm
gonna stop sharing my screen.
But yeah, I think it was a step in the right direction for me and my fantasy side this week. We got points across the board.
Yeah, solid. Yeah, yeah, man. So what? I think we should tie it up here, man. We've been going for almost an hour, but obviously you guys know where to follow us or where to find us on socials. We're on Instagram at We Talk Football Podcast, on Twitter WTF Podcast 90, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You know the thing. You know where to find us. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled and your ears pinned for more episodes, and we'll talk to you later.
Fuck Spurs.
Bye, guys.